skyscraper became a death ray, a bridge danced itself to pieces, and a nuclear plant killed an entire city. But here's the thing, money didn't save any of them.
These are the 10 most expensive engineering failures in history, and they cost humanity $1.6 trillion.
We celebrate the space race. We celebrate the Burj Khalifa. We celebrate what happens when unlimited budgets meet. But here's what we don't talk about. What happens when that same unlimited budget meets arrogance, complacency, or a single person who was too afraid to say no? Because that's what these disasters have in common. They didn't fail because of lack of money. They failed because someone ignored a warning sign. Someone cut a corner. Someone believed they knew better than physics, and the price for that mistake? Trillions of dollars. But more than that, thousands of lives. Let's see which hubris cost the most. Number 10, the Walkie-Talkie Building. London, 2013. A shiny new skyscraper rises in the financial district. Cost over £200 million. The architect wanted something revolutionary, something sleek, something with a concave glass design that would make everyone stare up and wonder. But they forgot one thing: physics. The curved glass acted like a giant magnifying lens. For 2 hours a day, it focused the sun's rays onto the street below with laser precision. Pinpoint accuracy, like nature's own death ray. The result? Surface temperatures on the sidewalk hit 90 degrees Celsius. That's 194 Fahrenheit. Hot enough to melt metal. It literally melted the panels of a Jaguar car parked below. It cracked tiles. It fried eggs on the pavement. People couldn't walk on the street. Businesses complained. The architects had to spend millions more installing sunshades to fix their mistake. They call it a skyscraper. Physics calls it a death ray. Final cost overrun, plus £30 million. Number 9. The Mars Climate Orbiter. Here's a disaster so embarrassing, NASA still doesn't like talking about it. The space agency launched a mission costing $327 million to study the weather on Mars. After a 9-month journey through space, the probe approached the red planet. And then, it instantly burned up in the atmosphere. Gone. Vaporized. $327 million turned into cosmic dust. Want to know why? A math error. A simple conversion mistake.
The engineers at Lockheed Martin calculated the spacecraft's thrust using English units, pounds force. The engineers at NASA used metric units, newtons. Nobody converted the numbers.
It's like one team building a bridge in feet, another team building the other side in meters, and then wondering why they don't connect. A high school physics student could have fixed this in 5 minutes, but nobody checked, nobody cross-verified. Final cost of arrogance, minus $327 million. Number 8, the Vasa. Let's go back to 1628.
Sweden's King Gustav Adolphus II was obsessed with power. He demanded the most powerful warship ever built, a floating fortress with cannons that would make every enemy tremble.
Royal shipbuilders warned him, "Your Majesty, this design is unstable. The center of gravity is too high. We cannot guarantee safety." The king ignored them. He ordered extra heavy cannons, a second gun deck, more weight, more power. On August 10, 1628, the Vasa set sail on its maiden voyage. Thousands of people lined the harbor to watch this symbol of Swedish strength leave port. 20 minutes into the journey, a light breeze blew. Just a breeze. Nothing dramatic. The ship tipped over. Water rushed through the open gun ports. The Vasa filled like a bathtub, and less than a mile from shore, the most expensive warship ever built sank to the bottom of the harbor. It was the Titanic of the 17th century, a monument to a king's ego, resting at the bottom of the sea. The lesson? Sometimes the most dangerous engineers aren't the ones making mistakes. They're the ones brave enough to speak the truth, and the leaders arrogant enough to ignore them. Roughly 30 people died that day. 30 lives trapped inside a ship because a king refused to listen. The Vasa's true cost wasn't measured in gold. It was measured in the graves at the bottom of Stockholm Harbor. Number 7. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge, Washington State, 1940. They called it Galloping Gertie. Costing $6.4 million, it was a marvel of modern engineering. Sleek, slender, elegant, a bridge so confident in its design that nobody worried about one tiny variable. Wind. Engineers dismissed the risk. Wind won't be a problem, they said. We've built bridges before. They hadn't. On November 7, 1940, winds reached 40 miles per hour. And the bridge didn't just sway. It entered a state called aeroelastic flutter, a phenomenon where the structure starts to oscillate at its natural frequency, feeding energy into itself with each cycle. The bridge began to twist. Like a ribbon, like a living thing in agony. And it was all caught on film. But here's what matters. This disaster didn't fade into history as just another failure. It became a textbook. Every engineer in the world studied it. Every wind tunnel model after that included bridges. The collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge taught us that you cannot cheat aerodynamics, you cannot ignore what you don't understand, and you cannot assume that just because something looks right, it is right. Final cost of overconfidence, $6.4 million, plus invaluable lessons. Number 6, Montreal Olympic Stadium. Montreal, 1976. The Olympics are coming, and Canada wants to impress the world. They commission an iconic stadium with one revolutionary feature, a retractable roof. In 1976, this was cutting-edge technology. Budget, $134 million. Simple, clean, ambitious. Here's what actually happened. The final cost? Over $1.5 billion, more than 11 times the original budget. They nicknamed it the Big O. Why? Because the retractable roof, the main feature, the entire selling point, didn't even work until 11 years after the Olympics. And when it finally worked, it ripped constantly. It failed repeatedly. It became a punchline. Meanwhile, the city of Montreal had to pay this debt for 30 years. Number 5, Berlin Brandenburg Airport. German engineering is famous worldwide. Precision, efficiency, perfection. Except for this. Berlin Brandenburg Airport was supposed to open in 2011. It was going to be the most modern airport in Europe, cutting-edge technology, smart systems, a monument to German engineering excellence. It didn't open until 2020. 9 years of delay. Let that sink in. 9 years. And here's the darkest part. The airport was fully staffed. The trains ran empty through the halls. Employees showed up every single day to work in a ghost airport just to keep the systems from rotting. For almost a decade, the cost exploded from $2 billion to over $7 billion. More than 300% overruns on a project that was supposed to showcase German efficiency. When the airport finally opened in 2020, the applause was muted. What was meant to symbolize efficiency had instead become a long case study in delays, technical failures, and political indecision. Nearly 9 years late and billions over its original budget, Berlin Brandenburg entered history before it ever entered service. Number 4. The Soviet N-1 rocket. The American Saturn V had 5 massive F-1 engines. Simple, proven, reliable. Each engine produced 1.5 million pounds of thrust. The Russians looked at this and realized, we can't compete with this. We don't have engines this powerful. Instead of tackling the core problem, they made a different choice: complexity. 30 smaller engines, strapped together, all firing at once. In engineering, complexity is a risk. If one engine fails, the whole system is compromised. If one valve sticks, the whole system is compromised. The Americans chose simplicity. The Soviets chose complexity. On July 3, 1969, just 4 days before Apollo 11 landed on the moon, the N-1 rocket stood on its launch pad in Kazakhstan. The Soviet space program had poured billions of rubles into this moment, their final chance to beat the Americans to the moon. The countdown began. All 30 engines ignited. For a moment, it seemed to work. Then one engine failed, then another. The entire rocket, the pinnacle of Soviet lunar ambition, exploded, creating a mushroom cloud visible for dozens of miles. Debris scattered across the steps. The launch pad was destroyed. The Soviet lunar program never recovered. While the Americans were planting flags on the moon, the Soviets were collecting the remains of their ambition. The final cost of refusing to innovate, $5.7 billion lost, and the moon itself. Number 3, Deepwater Horizon. The Gulf of Mexico, 2010. An oil rig valued at $560 million drilled into the deepest well in history. It was supposed to be routine, safe, profitable. BP had cut corners on safety equipment. New blowout preventers cost money. On April 20th, 2010, a methane bubble from the well expanded into the drilling riser, ignited on the platform, and exploded. 11 workers died instantly. The rig burned for 36 hours before sinking to the bottom of the ocean. But the disaster wasn't over. It was just beginning. The well kept leaking. For 87 days, crude oil poured into the Gulf of Mexico, 4.9 million barrels, enough to fill 780,000 swimming pools. The largest environmental disaster in American history. In the aftermath, BP paid over $65 billion in fines and cleanup costs. The most expensive corporate disaster in history. They destroyed ecosystems. They destroyed livelihoods. They destroyed the belief that large corporations would ever prioritize safety over profit. Final cost of ignoring warning signs, minus $65 billion plus 11 lives plus an entire ecosystem. Number 2, Fukushima Daiichi disaster. Japan is a nation obsessed with precision. They understand risk. They understand nature's power. They build to survive earthquakes. They build to survive tsunamis. But in 2011, they built wrong. Fukushima Daiichi was a nuclear power plant built by the sea. The engineers estimated the maximum possible tsunami wave height at 3.1 meters. They built a seawall approximately 10 meters high to protect against it. Then nature sent a reality check. On March 11, 2011, an earthquake struck offshore, and the tsunami that followed? Over 14 meters high, more than what they predicted. The seawall was useless. The water flooded the generators. Cooling systems stopped working. 3 reactor cores began to melt. In the hours that followed, evacuation zones expanded. 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, entire towns emptied. Over 150,000 people forced from their homes, many never to return. The long-term cleanup is estimated to take 40 years. 40 years for workers to make the land safe again. Total economic loss? Estimates exceed $200 billion. But the real cost isn't in dollars. It's in 150,000 lives displaced. It's in families torn from their homes forever. It's in the incalculable suffering that no number can measure. The lesson of Fukushima isn't complicated. Nature always bats last. You can prepare. You can build walls. You can do everything right. But nature doesn't care about your plans. Number 1, Chernobyl. Ukraine. Reactor 4. 1986. A safety test gone wrong. Just a routine test to see if the reactor could handle a power loss. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that could possibly go wrong.
Except everything went wrong. The reactor wasn't designed properly. The safety systems had flaws nobody wanted to admit. The protocols were wrong, and the culture of Soviet secrecy meant that warnings were buried, ignored, forgotten.
On April 25th, the test began. By April 26th, the reactor exploded. The explosion released 400 times more radiation than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Not similar, not comparable. 400 times more. In seconds, the containment structure was breached. Radioactive material spewed into the atmosphere. The reactor core was completely exposed, burning, melting, releasing its poison into the sky. The evacuation happened too late. The truth came even later. Entire cities were abandoned. Pripyat, a city of 50,000, became a ghost town in hours. An exclusion zone of 1,000 square miles remains today a dead zone where the radiation is still too high for humans to live. The cost is impossible to calculate precisely. Long-term estimates for cleanup and health costs soar up to $700 billion. Maybe more. Nobody really knows.
But the true cost isn't in dollars. It's in lives never lived. It's in families torn apart. It's in a generation of children who will never know their homeland. Chernobyl remains the most expensive object and the most expensive mistake in human history. Not because of the money, but because of what it cost us to learn that some corners cannot be cut, some warnings cannot be ignored, some arrogance cannot be forgiven.
Final cost of secrecy and negligence. Minus 700 billion plus, a dead zone that will take 10,000 years to heal, plus countless lives lost and futures stolen. Chernobyl, Fukushima, the bridge that danced itself to pieces. These were not accidents. They were choices. Choices to ignore warnings, to prioritize deadlines over lives. Engineering does not forgive. Physics does not negotiate. To dive deeper into topics like this, subscribe to MindRank. Some lessons are too valuable to forget.